Big news out of Brussels and Beijing this week. After years of diplomatic deadlock, China has just lifted sanctions on 5 current and former members of the European Parliament. And trust me, this isn't just symbolic. It's a major step that could reopen the doors to high-stakes trade talks between the EU and China. Let me break down what's going on, and why it matters. Back in 2021, China slapped sanctions on these European politicians after they publicly criticized China's human rights record. Think concerns about the Uyghur population, Hong Kong, Taiwan. The big issues that have shaped global headlines for years. The 5 MFs, Raphael Glucksmann from France, Ilhan Kyuchuk from Bulgaria, Miriam Lexman from Slovakia, and Reinhard Bütikofer plus Michael Galler from Germany, were suddenly banned from entering China, and their ties to Chinese institutions were cut off. And here's why it was a big deal. The European Parliament, which has a lot of sway over foreign policy, basically said, no more serious talks with China until you lift these sanctions. This was a freeze on diplomatic engagement, and it came at a time when global trade was already rocky, thanks in part to the aftershocks of former President Trump's trade war with China. Tariffs flying, supply chains jammed, everyone nervous. So, what changed? Fast forward to now, and you'll notice some serious diplomatic hustle. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited Beijing. The EU's Trade Commissioner, Maros Sefcovic, has been sitting down with Chinese leaders. And there's a high-level EU-China summit penciled in for July. All this mounting pressure worked, and China finally agreed to lift the sanctions. But, and this is important, don't expect the EU to suddenly go soft. The Parliament is still sharply critical of China's human rights record and what they see as aggressive trade tactics. There are still big concerns about China's industrial policies, market distortions, and barriers that make it tough for European companies to compete fairly in the Chinese market. Those issues are not going away, and they'll be front and center in any upcoming negotiations. So here's what I'm watching for next. Will the EU and China actually strike meaningful trade deals? Or will those old sticking points, human rights, market access, industrial policy, keep getting in the way? Either way, with the sanctions gone, at least both sides are finally back at the table. I'll be keeping an eye on that July summit, and I'll keep you posted if anything big breaks. For now, this is a rare diplomatic thaw in a pretty frosty relationship. Source for today's report, Politico. If you want more updates on international politics and trade, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think this means for the future of EU-China relations. See you next time.